Welcome to Spoiler Piece Theater, the podcast that doesn't give a shit about spoilers. We just want to talk about the movies. My name is Megan Kearns. My pronouns are she, her. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and I'm also a member of Gallica, the Society of LGBTQ+ Entertainment Critics.
My name is Dave Riedel. My pronouns are he, him. I write and I talk about movies. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and I just drove 220 miles to see Three Colors Red on the big screen. Yay me.
Woohoo!
Yeah, you did. And my name is Evan Crean. My pronouns are he, him. I am co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and co-author of your 80s movie guide to better living.
Yes, you
certainly
sir.
are. And congratulations, Megan, on the new affiliation.
Thank you, Dave. That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate
Congrats.
it. Yeah, I'm very excited about it. And speaking of things I'm very excited about, I want to thank our listeners I want to thank all of our listeners because you're all amazing, but I want to thank our listeners, two of whom bought Spoiler Piece merch. That's right. I want to thank Twitter handle Dork of All Dorks, aka Heather. Thank you so much. I know it's a great Twitter handle. And I want to thank listener Jack. Thank you both so much for your support, for buying merch. And you know what, listeners? If you want to join in the fun, you can buy merch too. You can buy t-shirts, hoodies, tote bags, mugs, you name it.
There's a notebook, God damn it. Start a journal.
There is a notebook.
Yeah, I think someone ordered a couple.
Someone
thought I
did.
saw
That's why I know there's a notebook, because somebody ordered
Yeah. Also, listeners would love to see pictures of your Spoiler Piece merch when it comes in.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you want to send us a picture wearing your threads out in the world, we'll definitely share it.
If
We sure
anybody
will.
wants to get a bandana for their dog and we don't have it, we will see if we can get a bandana. We make no promises, but
But we'll try to make that
we'll
happen.
try. Yeah.
But yeah.
Spoiler Pooch Theater.
Ooh.
You're fucking killing me.
Nice. Evan, you're always coming in clutch with the puns. So go check out our website, spoilerpiece.com, and you could check out our TeePublic store from there. And you can buy merch too and be part of Spoiler Pooch Theater. The show's already gone off the rails and we've just started. You can also check out our bonus episode. We put them out every week for our patrons for $5 a month. You get to listen. And this week, we had a discussion about the French War romance, A Very Long Engagement, which was a patron request, a special request. So go check that out if you're a patron. And if you're not a patron, consider joining. And the movies, we have two movies we're going to be discussing this week. We're going to be talking about the horror comedy Who Invited Them that is on Shudder, and we're going to be talking about the British World War II thriller Burial. And we're going to kick things off with Who Invited Them. And it's written and directed by Duncan Birmingham. It stars Ryan Hansen, Melissa Tang, Timothy Granaderos, and Perry Matfeld. Oh, yes, that is correct. I want to make sure I was reading the right thing, and I was. It made its U.S. premiere at the New Orleans Overlook Film Festival. And here is the synopsis from Shudder. Adam and Margot's housewarming party goes well enough, except for this mysterious couple, Tom and Sasha, lingering after the other guests have left. The couple reveals themselves to be their wealthy and successful neighbors. But as one nightcap leads to another, Adam and Margot start to suspect their new friends are duplicitous strangers with a dark secret. Okay, guys, what did you think?
Okay. So who invited this movie onto our podcast? That's what I want to know.
Oh,
We did. We invited this movie.
It wasn't me specifically, was it? Because bad me.
I think we mutually agreed on the invitation.
Second thing, the Overlook Film Festival should have overlooked this movie.
Oh,
So, yeah.
Guns blazing.
Yeah, I really, really didn't like this, which is kind of funny because this sort of movie on paper seems like it would be right up my alley, but I found it really predictable and the ending inevitable and all of the characters highly irritating and the actor who played Tom, I thought was really bad. So
I disagree on that.
Oh, really? I thought that Ryan Hansen was okay. I usually feel like he's a lot better in things, especially when he's got some comedic stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
What is the actor? Melissa Tang? Was that?
Melissa Tang is Margot.
Melissa Tang. She
Margot
was
the
fine.
character.
I like Perry Matfeld. I like her a lot.
I did
always
too.
have. And I thought she was very good. I think part of the problem is Tom and Sasha don't really have much to do other than be kind of this weird, malevolent thing. But I kind of feel like there's a lot of, I can't think of anything specifically, but I just feel like I've seen like the evil house guest or evil dinner party movie, before.
The Invitation.
The Invitation.
Yes. Done much better.
And there's one with Cameron Diaz when she was brand new, where there's like a dinner party and somebody poisons everybody there. There's no poisoning in this, but
Now I want to see that movie.
yeah. And if you've driven in the Hollywood Hills, I'm not going to say that the cell phone reception is great, but I am going to say that you can use Google Maps to get around. I don't know what that whole subplot was.
That was so stupid. That was probably, I think, the most stupid and useless part of the movie was the annoying friend character who was driving around, not bothering to use a GPS, being like, oh, where am I? I don't know. I'm lost.
The one good thing about that, though, was not that she got stabbed, but her stabbing was... Her stabbing was brutal, though.
It was a brutal stabbing.
It was like, because when he first did it, I was like, I didn't even realize that's what had happened, until she was like, she says something like, oh no, like how you always read those stories, like people who don't realize they've been injured until like a moment later.
Yes.
That's what I felt like that would be. I don't know. Also, what happened to her? She shot Ryan Hansen in the face. He recovered, and so did Melissa Tang, except apparently she kind of went cuckoo. But what happened to the friend?
Well, I don't think that's actually what happened. I think he died. That's
You think
a
Ryan Hansen
hallucination.
died?
Yeah, that's a hallucination.
Oh, yeah?
Because at the very end of the film, he's like, the record's not skipping. Why isn't it skipping? And he's freaking out about the not skipping. So I took that to mean he was dead.
I took that
I didn't read it that
implication to be that Tom and Sasha had like gotten back into the house and planted that stuff to say we're not done with you yet.
Oh, interesting.
Right. But the one reason I think that also doesn't work is that the wife is way too calm about the idea that she didn't start the record player and didn't leave the drink there, which to me, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
Nope. That's why I thought he was dead for that reason too, in conjunction. But I like your guys' take too. I think that's fascinating.
Well,
okay. So
I
Evan,
I'm
sorry,
I
Dave,
shit all
keep
over
going.
it. So you two both,
So Evan, what did you think?
I feel like I have a lot of similar thoughts on this movie. It sounded great on paper. Yeah, it's been done to death. Like we've seen it a lot of times. I've seen it done better. So I wasn't really mad so much at the predictable elements of it because I'm like, you're kind of dealing with that when you make this kind of movie that has been done before. I did like the actor who played Tom. Timothy Granaderos, and I like Perry Matfeld as well. I thought they were good. They were menacing in that like we're being overly polite and nice over the top kind of way, and like to the point of like, okay, there's got to be something wrong with these people.
Yeah.
I mean, least of which we first see them kind of skulking around. He's snooping in some room in the back.
Yes.
Comes out and then he's like, "Oh, I must be drunk," he said, perfectly sober.
I know.
And so I dug them. I don't know, the friend storyline that's like driving around lost, I feel like was completely unnecessary and annoying. And I liked the fact that these two didn't kill them. I thought that was kind of an interesting way to go with it, where they're like, we just kill bad couples.
Yeah.
like the next door neighbors who were shitty and complicit while our parents were abusing us after, and then we murdered our parents. It's like that twist was just so obvious. There was no other way I feel like the movie was going to go, that, they were the twins in the story.
Oh,
Right.
that was obvious right from the start. Yeah.
Right. So like, I'm not as mad about some of the more predictable elements of the movie. I just didn't feel like it really stuck the landing or went anywhere all that interesting to me, despite some like kind of fun, jabs at like yuppies and like people who are, trying to look impressive to their work people. Like Ryan Hansen, I feel like is actually kind of a right actor to play that kind of like dickish, trying to look cooler than he actually is kind of character after having seen him play, Dick Casablancas and
Veronica Mars.
Veronica Mars and I forget his character's name in Party Down, but he's also like the dopey actor
Right.
in that too. And I feel like he nails those roles. So, but it's hard not to watch this movie and think of him in those roles and then see him in this. Like, oh, wait.
I think it's partly because Dick Casablancas is a better written role,
Yeah.
But
So anyway, I felt like I just started meandering into different points of view, but overall, I liked this on paper. I don't think it quite panned out for a few reasons, but I thought the performances were at least interesting. What about you, Megan?
I liked this.
So
yeah, I had a slightly different experience. And for interestingly some of the same reasons as you, Evan, like I really liked the performances. I really liked Melissa Tang. I really liked Perry Matfield. Like she was really, really great. I also liked Tom too. I thought he was really creepy and really well done. Ryan Hansen was the one I liked the least. However, I'm like, wait a minute. We're kind of watching a performance within a performance because he's always so fake and he's always trying to impress people. So I was like, oh, he's supposed to be really annoying and really fake. So I don't think Ryan Hansen's actually doing a bad job acting. I think this is just that guy. He just is that kind of guy. So about like halfway through the film, I was like, okay, I'm not as annoyed and I'm not thinking he's actually doing a bad job acting. But yeah, so I liked the performances. And I liked the premise a lot. I love a home invasion film. And I kind of love that the couple, I can't think of their name, Adam and Margot. I kind of love the conceit that their relationship is not as, perfect as it may seem. And they're kind of falling apart in front of this stranger couple. And they also kind of want to impress them. Like it definitely reads as like The Invitation meets Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Although those two films are executed much better. And a big reason for that is because both of those films have much sharper writing. And so I liked the performances. I liked kind of the narrative of the film. So overall, and I didn't mind that things were so predictable, but I had an issue was I kind of wanted more depth to their conversations and kind of the things that were elicited and more vulnerability and more those kinds of things. Like I really want to get to know these characters and I don't really feel like I did. Like I got to know their personas, but I don't really feel like I got to know them really deeply other than, Margot's unhappy and is now letting loose smoking and snorting coke. Like, okay, but so it kind of felt a bit superficial to me. So I feel like if the writing had been sharper and gone deeper and had more depth, I would have enjoyed this more. But overall, having said that, the performances are good. It's really creepy. It's for me, it's unnerving enough. And I agree with you, Evan. I love that Tom and Sasha. I love that they choose not to kill them. Like, I think that's great. It's such a nice, I don't want to say twist as in like, oh, it's a surprise, but a nice change of pace for a home invasion film. Like, they're like, yeah, we actually kind of like you guys. Like, that was kind of surprising. And I really liked that. I thought that was a really smart choice. And I think it's interesting them killing the couple next door because, yes, of course, they killed them because, they didn't intervene with their parents abusing them, but it also because it's rich, they're rich people and they keep talking about wealthy people and wealth and status. There's very clearly a commentary being made on classism, which I thought was kind of interesting, especially in a home invasion film. So I really liked certain facets of this film, but overall I enjoyed it. I will say I did not like the friend driving around lost in the Hollywood Hills. I was like,
yeah,
okay. Like,
or how about the son too, with his weird nightmares, thinking his parents are going to get chopped up, and you're like, that's kind of interesting.
Right?
Maybe their son is like clairvoyant or something,
but it doesn't go anywhere.
Like, no.
Yeah.
It doesn't go anywhere.
Well,
why introduce such an interesting idea? Just throw it away.
Right. And the thing that I was more irritated about with the friend, more than her being lost, what really bothered me is that not only does her husband talk about Gun Club, he's watching a gun video, and then we see a close-up of him with a photo holding a gun. And I'm like, okay, we get it. The gun is going to come into play at some point. We're going to need this rifle. Somehow it's going to come into play. Like, it just was... It was kind of like hitting you over the head, and it was not necessary.
But then she couldn't even put that poor dog out of its misery.
Oh, that was... I'm glad you brought that up, Dave, because the dead animals in this were awful. Like the suffering dog and the dead hamster and the drink. Like, yeah, that was awful.
I did watch the hamster scene to see whether the hamster prop was in the glass when he handed it to her, and it was.
Oh, nice continuity.
Yeah.
Very nice continuity. I like that.
I mean, it's not like this movie's poorly made or anything. I just think that, like you keep saying, Megan, sharper writing. And I do like the twist that Perry Mattfeld and the bad actor who you two both inexplicably like.
I don't think he's bad.
Yeah. You know what it is? I think that might be more the character, just sort of, it's a really one-note character.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And whereas Perry Mattfeld's character has a little bit more nuance. But I think that might also just be her.
I think that's her. Yeah.
If you've ever watched In the Dark, for example, I mean, she's a fucking powerhouse in that.
Oh, I haven't. I will now.
All weirdness about, a woman who is sighted playing a blind woman aside.
That's who she is. Thank you. It was driving me wild. I could not think of it, and I should have looked it up before this. Thank you. Anyway.
Yeah, she's, I'm kind of surprised she hasn't been in more stuff, considering how talented she seems to be. So,
yeah.
Anyway, not a bad film. There was some tension, but I feel like the tension was more, for me, was more like, when are we going to get to the ending? Because even when they cross this, when they finally leave the house, the Tom and Sasha, and they're going across the street to the neighbors, and that's not really their house. I'm just like, how long are we going to have to watch them fiddle with the door before they get in? And then that's exactly what happened. I was just like, I really don't want to be right about this shit. Because one, I hate saying it on every show because I'm going to sound like that asshole. But it's just, I was glad, like you both were, with the twist that they killed the other couple instead of Adam and Margot. But I do wonder how reliable they are as narrators. Maybe they just straight up murdered their parents and were never abused. Who knows?
Right. Yeah. That, I don't know.
I'd like to not think people are lying about abuse even in a movie. But you're right, Dave. Yeah. You are right. That's a great observation. They are unreliable narrators.
That was definitely a question mark. Although one thing that I think didn't work for me is that I didn't quite understand why now. Like, why now are they coming back to this house? Like, I kind of understand that they're maybe on some vengeful mission to kill another bad couple, I guess. But I just didn't feel like their motivations were adequately explained to me. And then they just run away. And I'm like, okay.
While leaving a bloody handprint on the hood of the friend's car.
Well, that's a weird choice.
Right.
Well, they say why, though. They say that they drive by frequently. Or maybe not frequently, but they tend to drive by, and they saw that there was a party, so they decided to stop in. So I'm not saying it's a good reason, but that's the reason they stopped in.
They were sure dressed really well if they were just driving by, though. So
very true, very true. Unless they have spare clothes in their car. I used to always have spare clothes in my car.
Or stole them from the neighbors.
Oh, maybe.
I don't think that woman or that man had that suit or that dress.
No, I don't think so either.
Maybe they stole them from other neighbors.
Maybe.
Yeah, but I took it as like, oh, there's a party. This is our opportunity. Let's go crazy and kill. I don't know.
Yeah,
not crazy.
maybe.
Go wild and kill.
Although Perry Mattfeld's character, Sasha, she also made a point of saying that all the foster parents that they had, that they tried to pull the same tricks on, never ended up killing themselves. So I wonder if their parents actually did kill themselves. And then, Tom and Sasha mutilated the bodies afterward, like they said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe
You're
they
right.
did.
Yeah.
Maybe they are better, more reliable narrators than we think.
Maybe. I mean, it's I feel like that's one of those mysteries you don't really need to have, but it is more compelling. So.
I will say the fact that we're digging into this so much, maybe the writing is better than we're all giving it credit for, at least a bit.
Or it's more muddled.
Or maybe it's more muddled.
I think the reason we're digging in is we're finding parts where, like, to your point, Megan, that it's too shallow or superficial.
Yeah.
And so, like, we're instead of focusing on the characters and their drama, we're focusing on, like, minutia of details of, like, what were their motivations? Why did they do this? Are they reliable narrators? Like,
wait a minute. No. That I think that is the characters. I think when you dive into characters' motivation and why they're doing what they're doing, the way they're doing what they're doing, that's critical to character development and to the characters. So I agree, but also
the movie doesn't make it clear, though, which is the problem.
But that's okay. A movie doesn't have
and
to make it clear, I would argue.
Well, yeah, I mean, Solaris isn't clear, but,
That's
it's
true.
a really good movie. So,
Yeah.
Well,
I'm playing devil's advocate here.
To disagree on that.
Yeah, I'm playing devil's advocate that it doesn't need to be clear, because the thing of it is too. Is
I mean,
even if
you're right though.
Well, even if something's clear, people are going to interpret it differently. So,
Yes.
one person's clear is another person's muddled. So I'm mostly playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah. No, but you're right. I mean, I always go
Thank you.
back
I
to
like that.
David Cronenberg says that The Fly is not about HIV/AIDS, and I'm telling you, that movie is about HIV/AIDS.
That movie's about
know?
HIV/AIDS. There's no way around that.
And it wasn't to him, but that is what
right.
it has become.
100%.
So,
Well, that's the thing. You're absolutely right, Dave. The minute a film goes out of a filmmaker's hands and is screened, it becomes public conversation, and all interpretations are valid. So,
yeah. It's like Michael Mann claims that the reason Neil McCauley goes after Waingro at the end of Heat is not because he's ego-driven, but because he's lost his moral compass, because he went back for Edie. So therefore, his entire worldview has been blown up, and that's bullshit. It's ego.
I would say it's ego.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't even know that was a question. Interesting. I love this. I could talk about character motivations all day.
Yeah,
but
it's making me want to read Heat 2.
Oh,
yeah. I just got it, so
nice.
Yeah,
need to read it.
Oh my God, you guys are too funny. But back to who invited them. Do either of you have any final thoughts?
Just cast Perry Matfield and more stuff.
Oh, I agree with that.
Yeah, I can get on board with that too.
And my final thought is, I think this, for me, was enjoyable enough because of the performances and because of the tension. And interesting that you're both talking about like the predictability and everything. I was thinking about that while we were talking about it. And for me, I think the predictability in a weird way worked in favor of the film for me because I knew it was coming. Kind of like how Spoiler Piece, sometimes knowing the spoilers makes you enjoy it more.
Well, and yeah, actually interesting to your point, you see everything coming and then they don't kill Adam and Margot.
Right.
They kill the other couple. So there is that.
Yeah. So very interesting. But I love this conversation. But anyway, let's move on to our next film, the British World War II thriller Burial. And Burial is written and directed by Ben Parker. It stars Charlotte Vega, Tom Felton, Harriet Walter, and Barry Ward. And here is the synopsis from the IFC Studio Press Notes. Set during the waning days of World War II, Burial tells the fictional story of a small band of Russian soldiers tasked with delivering the crated remains of Hitler back to Stalin in Russia. En route, the unit is attacked by German werewolf, quote unquote, partisans and picked off one by one. An intrepid female intelligence officer leads her surviving comrades in a last stand to ensure their cargo doesn't fall into the hands of those who would hide the truth forever. Yeah, that's a pretty good summary, I would say. The only thing I would add to it to flesh it out a little bit more is that the film, while most of it takes place in 1945, it starts off in 1991 with the female protagonist going by the name of Anna, and she's in London on Christmas Day, and she's watching the news about the fall of the Soviet Union. And then a man who's a neo-Nazi breaks into her house And he's saying he knows who she really is and he knows about the cargo that she was transporting. And she eventually, after she tasers him and chains him to a radiator, which is great, she drugs him and then narrates the story of that journey. And then that's when it flashes back to 1945 when Anna, or her real name or her first name, original name is Brana. She's assigned to the secret mission to transport the crate, which she and 2 others know is Hitler's remains, but you don't actually learn that until very late in the film. And
but you know what it is, though.
No, you know, right. But the other characters in the film, they don't know,
Right.
Because they're not
I was
allowed.
surprised they told them even.
Yeah, I was too, because they're not allowed to open the crate. They have to bury it every night in case they get killed, and then no one will discover it. So and then they get attacked by the werewolves, the guerrilla fighters who are trying to keep the Nazi Reich going.
Right. Who are not werewolf monsters, as
No.
I initially thought
I
watching
thought they
this
were
movie.
going to be
Because
too.
it's an IFC midnight, and usually those are, weird horror movies.
But actually, they do play with that, though, with
They
the
do.
whole drugging thing.
Yep.
Yes.
Everybody's given a hallucinogenic to make these werewolf, fake werewolf suits that some of the, would you call them, well, they're Germans, they're Nazis who are trying to change history and steal Hitler's corpse and say, no, he didn't kill himself. But I forgot where I was going with that. But anyway, Draco
that
Malfoy.
they play with that. You were saying that they play with the notion of werewolves because they look like werewolves, even though they're actually just people wearing
And
one guy
hallucinate
with a
them with
wolf
the-
head.
Yeah.
So Tom Felton's Draco Malfoy, right?
Yes, he is.
I've never seen I've seen one Harry Potter movie, but I don't remember him being in it, except I just remember he's got white hair
He does.
in this.
He's very good as Draco Malfoy, and he's really good in this too. But
He is.
But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Yeah. Evan, what did you think of this? Or should we start with Dave?
No, I mean, I think I like the framing narrative of her in present day with this neo-Nazi guy chained up. And I like that it really captured my attention very early in this movie, because I was kind of thinking initially, this is going to be kind of like a generic monster movie-ish kind of horror movie, like a period horror movie with some monsters thrown in there. And then I was like, oh, okay, movie, you have my attention. Tough older woman chains up neo-Nazi and forces him to hear this story of her youth. I really dug that aspect of the movie, and I thought it was quite effective. Parts of the narrative I was really interested in. Other parts I kind of was bored. It was a bit of a mixed bag. I respect that this movie does not force people to try accents that they're not good at. It's just kind of
I loved
we're
that.
British, so we're
Me
just going to
too.
do British accents, and if someone else has another accent, good for them.
It's the Ridley Scott theory of accents.
Yes.
Use your own.
Yep.
So that worked quite well for me. And I think the movie is pretty exciting toward the showdown at the house in the middle of the woods where they've got Hitler's body stashed away, and the showdown in the church. I thought that was all pretty action packed. And that guy, the character Thor, I was like, man, this guy just takes a beating and just keeps getting back
He's
up.
like the
He's
Energizer
shot,
Bunny, but a
stabbed.
Russian soldier.
Yeah, he's stabbed in the back. He's stabbed in the ear. He's stabbed in the leg. Yeah, that's
Oh
Barry
my God.
Ward. I loved him. He was great.
He was a standout character in this for me. And I liked the other performances generally. I think my two biggest critiques are one, we established the main character as Jewish, but we don't do anything interesting with that really. I don't feel like we see a lot of nuance or grappling with the idea of needing to transport Hitler's
Braun is Jewish?
remains.
Yeah.
I missed that entirely.
There's
They establish it in the opening.
Right, there's a menorah in the window, and so it's right from the start.
There is a
She
menorah in the
comments with
window.
the
I didn't even
neo-Nazi,
think
too.
about that.
Yeah, and then later the villagers are like, does she know about what they've done to her own people? So yeah. So that comes up again that she's Jewish, yeah.
I just didn't
Whoops.
feel like her character went on an interesting journey with that. Like, you know what I mean? It's like they mentioned that she mentions that she's Jewish. You mentioned the menorah. She says it to the neo-Nazi, like, oh, you're here to just murder another Jew or something like that. And then, you know, later someone comments on her name and she's like, oh, it's Hebrew or whatever. Yeah.
Yep. No, she
Now
said
that
that.
you're
Yep.
saying
So I
this,
didn't
I'm
feel like-
remembering all of
I know,
it.
Dave, where were
Yeah.
you? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
So that's one thing. I feel like there could have been more there that could have been interesting for her character. And then the other thing is I heard a lot of different reasons in this movie as to why they should care about Hitler's remains, but I remained unmoved by any of them.
I think
Like,
I buy
I
you
didn't
on
feel
that.
like-
Yeah.
I feel like no one made an effective argument as to why we should be fighting to tooth and nail to the death over Hitler's remains.
Stalin needed to know, and as we all know, he was impenetrable, except in sadism, apparently. So, I don't know. I liked this a lot more than you did. I'll say that.
Tell us
Fair.
about it, Dave.
Yeah.
I loved Thor,
Yes.
just like you did. I thought Charlotte Vega was great.
I agree with you, Dave.
I thought the fucking gunfights were awesome and
Yes.
super tense
Mhm.
and really clever.
Yep.
And in movies like this, you know, when somebody pops their head up from like behind a bunch of hay or hay bales or like peeks around a corner, it's just like, is their head gonna get blown off? Oh my God, that's fucking crazy.
Mhm.
And then just, you know, there's the one scene, I think it's Thor who throws like one of the German he finds a hand grenade and he throws it, you know, at the guys hiding behind the wood pile, and one of the Germans like shoves the Russian traitor on top of it, and then, you know, you actually, I feel like whenever that happens in a movie, it's like Woody Harrelson or whoever it is in The Thin Red Line. You know that it happens, but you don't really see the aftermath. Where in this one, it's like, oh, half of his face is missing. That's crazy.
Yeah, they do show that to you. And the whole thing with the Molotov cocktail, I thought was really well done.
Yes.
Where
Goes
Thor
out.
is like, he runs into the house and the Molotov cocktail falls behind him, but it just like rolls onto the ground. It doesn't actually shatter.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so tense and so well done.
They say something, oh man, it's your lucky day or something like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't remember what it is.
I think
Yeah.
that is it.
And I thought that I agree with you, Evan, that the whole idea that's like, why do we need to take Hitler's body? And these Germans are going to like, by the way, knowing a little something about film cameras, the camera that the German is using is a Bolex camera. And that is a silent camera. All cameras of that time period are silent, but you cannot sync up sound with the Bolex because it is a hand crank. So even when you are at 24 frames, you might be at 25, you might be at 23, you might be at 26. You're never quite sure because it has a dial on it that you set to the frames per second you want to do. The reason I know that is because I've used one many times. So the whole idea that he's sitting there saying like, this is not the Fuhrer. First of all, where's the microphone that he's speaking into
Right.
that
I was
you would
wondering
be
that.
syncing up this sound with? But they make up for it with a fucking good gunplay. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. And I kind of like the fact that she took Hitler's skull with her and she showed it
Yes!
to the neo-Nazi, but
Amazing.
but they didn't show it to
So
us.
good.
I kind of liked that.
I love
Usually-
that.
I loved that.
Usually I'm kind of like, don't be coy. Like everyone's just like, oh, bear with me. The ending of what's the Bill Murray, Scarlett
Lost
Johansson
in
movie called?
translation.
The whole like whispering in the ear and you can't tell. And Sophia Coppola's like, oh, it's just his message for her. Fuck you. Okay. I don't give a shit what there's an audience here. Whereas this one, I feel like, yeah, okay. I don't need to see Hitler's skull. I believe her, So she's showing it to the neo-Nazi because she's like, well, you have proof of it, but now you can't tell anybody because you did. So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
Loved
right.
that. It was delicious.
So I had a lot of, this was a lot more serious than I thought it was going to be because like the way Evan was like, this movie sounds bonkers. I was like, yeah, werewolves and Hitler and World War II. And then it was just
Right.
kind of a straight, World War II action movie. I was like, oh, okay, well, this works too.
Yeah. Yeah, not what I expected, but pleasantly surprising. Like
Yeah.
overall, I was like, oh, okay, this was I think the words I used when I finished it was like, I enjoy this a lot more than I expected to.
Yeah. I just thought it was well done overall, So,
Mm-hmm.
Megan, what's your story? You're sitting over there with a smirk.
Oh, no, I just didn't want to look pouty. Because sometimes
Well, you don't.
No,
You don't look
but
pouty.
my resting face is kind of like not like smiley, so that's why sometimes I'm just smiling, so it looks nicer. Anyway, but I had a blast with this. I thought this was great. I found this very tense. I loved the violence. I loved the shootouts. I was like,
Good killing in this movie.
Exactly. It was such a Western feel to it, like especially when they're doing the shootout in the house. Yeah,
Yes.
like to me, this is a Western. And I'm like, if you're going to combine World War II thriller drama with a Western, I am here for that. I love that. And I think Barry Ward was great as Tor, or Thor. They call him Tor in the film, which I kind of love the British pronunciation. But and I really, really love Brana too. And I think Charlotte Vega was fantastic as her. And because she's conveying so much with her body language and with her facial expression. And I think it's interesting, Evan, that you didn't think that they did much with her Jewish identity, because I felt they did. So I think that's so interesting. And like to me, like a lot of it was unspoken. Like it wasn't very explicit. It was it was implicit instead. So for me, that worked more. But yeah, I like the idea of I don't know. I was kind of getting this like gunslinger vibe from her, and I'm like, we're getting a woman sniper, so kind of a woman gunslinger who's a Jewish woman. Like that's really cool. So I was here for that, and I just really enjoyed it. So yeah, I was not expecting werewolves per se, because I knew it was in quotes. So I was like, oh, we're not getting real werewolves. But I thought it was going to be kind of like maybe like play with horror expectations, which it absolutely does. As Dave, you said, with the hallucinations, which I really liked that element of it. But yeah, I just really dug this. I thought this was a lot of fun, which sounds like a weird thing to say about a World War II thriller where they're transporting Hitler's remains, but it was. Yeah. I really liked it. And I think Tom Felton was great. I really liked his connection with Brana. I thought that they communicated really well, and I liked their banter, and I liked her banter with Tor, or not banter, but rapport. I really liked it. It just really worked for me. And I hear what you guys are saying about how it didn't really make a compelling case for why they're laying their lives on the lines for Hitler's remains. And the only thing what came to me while I was watching this, because I was thinking that too. I was like, well, who the fuck cares? But at the same time, we also have the hindsight, and we're not in that situation where I could imagine, and to me, this is where her Jewish identity came into play really well, was that there were so many people, and there still are, disturbingly, who deny that the Holocaust happened, who denied the concentration camps existed, who denied all the human rights atrocities, what I kept thinking was, I wonder if that's what she's thinking of with these remains, that we need to prove it. We can't have people bury this. We can't have people hide this. We can't have people deny this. We need the proof so they know. And so for me, it was effective enough, even though I totally get what you guys are saying. And it was certainly a question that I had too.
Yeah. Yeah. But I like that the mission failed.
Yes.
It's like, I did think that was an interesting twist. It's like Tor drags Hitler's remains into the, basement or whatever of the church, and it burns to the ground. And I like that I thought that it's like, oh man, after all that, they still didn't succeed in their mission. Damn.
Yeah. Yep.
And then she had to spend 6 years in the gulag?
Yes.
I do wonder though, there are two things that I'm thinking. One is that, why are we transporting Hitler's remains? Well, I guess, if Stalin tells you to do it directly, that's a pretty important reason. But the other thing is like a Jewish woman in that era in the Soviet Union, is she long for this world after World War II? now that she
Right.
served her purpose, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a major question
Mhm.
too.
Yeah.
Of like,
I mean,
You know, where
Stalin
they're
killed
all-
a
'cause I mean-
whole lot of people. So
right.
Mhm.
And there were pogroms before that. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily like I would be surprised. I mean, well, who the fuck knows? But it did seem surprising to me to have a Russian Jew in the army. Like it was like
And openly.
okay,
you know,
yeah. I was like, don't know about the historical accuracy of it, but I liked it. I liked it
Mhm.
as a choice, and I loved that she was a badass killing that neo-Nazi. Like that
Yes.
to me, that worked really well. I really
Wait,
enjoyed
how
that.
did she
And
dispatch him again?
she drugged
tased
him to death.
Well, first she tasered him, and then she
Oh, you
handcuffed
mean
him
the
to
guy in the
yes.
present in the 1991
Right.
scenes? I beg your pardon.
Yes. I just thought that was a badass choice, and I loved that she showed him the hat box, but we didn't see it. I thought that was
Mhm.
all done
I
You know what
agree.
else?
very well.
I'm sorry, Evan. Were you finished or sorry?
I was just gonna add that I also liked some of the writing in the movie in
Mhm.
terms of like dialogue and things. Like to me, I really enjoyed the line where she was talking about like history isn't written by the victors, it's remembered by those who survive it.
Mhm.
And I just thought that was like such the perfect line for that situation.
Yeah, yeah, because he wasn't going to survive it. I
Uh-uh.
also liked. I don't know what their relationship was. Is that they were in the church during the gunfight, and the guy that she's behind the table with gets shot in the gut and is clearly dying, and it's clear. It was clear to me that he was going to pick her up and throw her out the window, but it wasn't clear to her.
Mhm.
Which is what I kind of liked, that, he was in the process of saving her life and she was like, wait, what the fuck are you doing? And then he threw her out the window so that she wouldn't get shot to death by the, by the surviving Germans in that gunfight. I don't know. I just really liked that moment.
I agree with you. I think the choreography of the fight sequences are great. I think the framing, the cinematography was great. The usage of space, I completely agree. The pacing, I think all those elements are really great. And I also agree with you, Evan. I really liked the writing of this too. I found this extremely compelling just from start to finish. And this was such a nice, I don't want to say a surprise but I know you said it too, Evan, that you enjoyed this more and it was kind of a pleasant surprise. But this went places I wasn't quite expecting. And so I really, I really enjoyed this.
Yeah. Well, it's just like these kinds of stories I feel like are kind of, we've seen them many a time.
Oh, yes.
So it's, well trod territory. And when a movie comes in hits you in a way you're not expecting, especially as this does so early on, I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, you have my attention.
Yeah.
Right? I agree. Do you guys
Yeah.
have any final thoughts?
9 yet.
Evan.
No, I don't think so. I think we covered it.
My final thought was we didn't talk about it, although we did talk about how Tor was really beat up when he almost gets his eye stabbed.
Oh my
I
God.
Ooh.
was like, I literally
Yeah.
was screaming at my screen. I was like, no. That
Yeah.
was one of the most intense scenes, and I kept anticipating it to be so brutal, and then it doesn't happen. But wow, is that a tense scene?
Well, the ear
Yeah,
is
I mean, the
bad
ear
enough,
stab.
man. Good God.
Oh, the ear.
Also,
Woo-hoo.
by the way, did you notice that in the following scene when he's like got him hostage with everybody in the house, he goes and whispers or speaks in Tor's ear that he just stabbed. It's like he can't hear you in that
Yeah.
ear.
Yeah. Oh, well. Continuity.
Or maybe wanted to torture him. I don't know. But yes, probably continuity. Yeah. But I really enjoyed this. This was great. So let's do a quick recap. So Who Invited Them is on Shudder now, streaming. I think it's safe to say you guys would not recommend it.
I would not recommend it, and your mileage will not vary.
Wow. Evan.
Yeah, I don't think it's as harsh of a condemnation as that, but yeah, I don't know that I would recommend it. It's, to me, it was like just not good enough to like edge me over into no, I don't think you need to spend time on this one.
And see, I would recommend this. I enjoyed this enough. I liked the performances enough, and I like a home invasion film, especially one that goes in a little slightly different direction. So yeah, I would recommend it. And then Burial, it opens today in theaters. It's also available to rent on VOD. I think it's safe to say we would all recommend this? Question mark?
For totes.
Yeah. I think I have a less enthusiastic endorsement, but still, I think there's some good stuff here to check out.
I gotta say, the killing alone is good enough.
It's some great killing.
We were
Loves the
talking
good
about
killing.
we were talking about on the patrons and non-patrons, specifically non-patrons. We were talking about over on the Patreon page about the violence in A Very Long Engagement and how I found it distasteful, tonally with the rest of the movie. Whereas this movie Burial makes no bones about it. No bones about what it is. It is just a movie about transporting Hitler's body and killing. That's what it's about.
Yep. That's what it's about.
I'm telling you, I love it. That's why it's so great. It's surprisingly fun.
Yeah.
Oh man. And I keep thinking about Evan, John David Washington, that film that we talked about. I can't think of it now. That was on Netflix last year. And you're like, he's the most beat up character I've ever seen. And I kept thinking about that while watching. And I'm like, oh my God, Barry Ward's character is now the most beat up character I think I've ever seen on screen. It's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Beckett was the name of the movie that we couldn't think of. Yeah. Yeah, he takes a lot of damage in that, but yeah, I think Tor in this movie.
I think he has him beat.
Damn.
Yeah.
So much stabbing.
And he gets shot so many times.
Yes, that's
and
right.
Ultimately, and he's the one who drags Hitler's body down. He pulls the film out of the camera, which is awesome, while the fucking Nazis up there screaming about it, and then just sits there and burns to death.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, and I forgot to say, I love the ending of Lost in Translation, but I digress.
Wow.
I meant to say that earlier. Anyway, thank you so much, listeners. We really appreciate all of your support. We appreciate you listening to the show. We want to give a huge thank you to our editor, Otto Clammer. Otto, we love you. You make us sound great week in and week out. Thank you so much for all you do.
Thanks, Otto.
Thanks, Otto.
You can find Spoiler Piece anywhere you get podcasts. We're at all the platforms, podcast platforms of choice. You can also find us at spoilerpiece.com. You can find us all over social media. We're at Spoiler Piece on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, TikTok, you name it, we are there. So come follow us and say hello on social media. We love hearing from you. Speaking of we love hearing from you, you can email us at spoilerpiece@gmail.com, or you can give us a call
at 862-21-PEACE.
You can leave us a voicemail message. You can text us. Let us know. Did you also dislike Who Invited Them? Or maybe you liked it. And did you think there was good killing and burial? We want to know. And we're going to tell you, spoiler alert, there is good killing and burial. It is unequivocal. It's good
we
killing.
All agree on.
Yes. And if you like the show, please consider rating and reviewing the show. That really helps us out tremendously. You can go to ratethispodcast.com/spoilerpiece. That will take you to your preferred platform of choice. You can also rate us on Apple Podcasts, which helps us out a lot, as well as Spotify. And if you really, really like the show and you're not already a patron, consider joining. For $5 a month, you get access to weekly bonus episodes. This week, we did a patron request for the French film A Very Long Engagement. And you also get access to over 275 bonus episodes, our back catalog. And you also get to vote in monthly polls, which is really cool.
That's a great poll. Mm-hmm. Sorry. That was my Lorraine Newman voice from Bassomatic Saturday Night Live. Excuse me.
I don't know what that is, but now I'm going to go check it out.
That's terrific bass.
All right. We also have Spoiler Piece merch. So you can go to our TeePublic store that you can find through our website, and you can buy t-shirts, hoodies, pillows, notebooks, mugs, the whole shebang. You can go check it out there.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Megan Kearns. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and I'm a member of Gallica. You can follow me on Twitter at OpinionSWorld or on Instagram and Letterboxd at TheOpinionS.
My name is Dave Riedel. I write and I yap about movies. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association. I'm a fan of Checky Cario, and I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at Dave Sees Movies.
And my name is Evan Crean. I am co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd as Real Recon, and that's real as in film reel.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.